What's going on, guys? Another video. Today's not going to be that long of a video per se. It's going to be more of a rant video than anything else. The next video I'm going to go into far more detail about how I'm going to do a Warhammer again. It'll be the Fall of Cadia. I plan on reading the book for it and doing battle maps and stuff and talking about how that is. So this video is going to be kind of more of a lead into that video where I'm going to explain some stuff here after I'm involving the rant stuff, and so you don't have to watch this to do that because I'm going to still go over stuff with that one. It's going to be a long video, but that's why I made this one, just to kind of get things in order, you know what I'm saying. So, get things off with Warhammer 40K. You probably know at least about it or have heard about it. Pretty much, short version of it is, what if mankind finally did take to the stars and we weren't the only ones here? The Fermi paradox was false. So, we went to the stars, started exploring out, conquering, colonizing, terraforming, stuff like that. And pretty much what happens is that we get attacked and get our asses whooped. Now we're on the running end of it, trying to survive. So, pretty much that's the shortest version of Warhammer I can give you. Long version is humanity has went to the stars, guided by the Emperor of Mankind, who is pretty much a god, and he helped guide mankind until the point where he took over in the 30th millennium. Before that, he was doing it from the shadows, kind of like how the Illuminati does our world. You know, we ain't gonna talk about that. I don't want this video to get taken down. So to start off with, we're gonna talk about kind of like what it is, what the Imperium of Man is. In its own way, it is similar to the government. First of all, it is a kind of like a militaristic theocracy. So there's not really any leaders. They all worship the emperor, even though he didn't want to be worshipped. That's for another segment of the video. So they worship the emperor, follow under his creeds, his stuff that he said he was going to do. And you have them following him, doing all these things. There's different chapters, there's different divisions and stuff like that. Like the most famous one is the I can't remember the name of them. The Ultramarines. Those are the famous ones. Those are the ones that are the blue armor, known for honor, heroics, and everything else. They're just amazing. So it's like the Salamanders, and it's pretty cool. There's so many of them, and there's, I think I remember correctly, there's like 100 or more different chapters. So it's definitely hard to keep track of all of them, but it is cool to get into. Like, you can really deep dive into it. I love watching Wes Hammer. Wes Hammer on talking about it. He does an amazing job. He loves explaining it and does great videos on it. I highly recommend, if you want to get into Warhammer, go talk to him. He does more of the lore stuff about it, like deep dive lore. So my video is going to be more of like the actual battles per se. Like, he does also read stuff like that, but he don't go into like many of the battles. He just does the lore back behind it. I do love his Grim Dark Story Hours though. I love listening to those. Those are so awesome. You sit there and hear him talking in that deep, hear him talking in that deep voice with the creepy stuff behind it and all that. And one of his videos I am going to mention where it comes into play in part of my rant later, but I'll just say all that in a little bit. So, pretty much, theocracy, they worship the emperor, they fall under him and all that. There's two different divisions. They're the Adeptus Astartes and the Adeptus Mechanicus. So the Astartes are Space Marines. That's the typical military part of it. The Adeptus Mechanicus is the cult from the moon, who believe in the machine god and all that, and the Omnicide. So there's two different sections of the government. Those two, and they do different things. The Astartes meant for fighting, mainly meant for defending the Imperium. The Mechanicus is mainly meant to do technological advancement and discover new things, pretty much. They don't really trust each other that much, but they do kind of rely on each other. It's kind of like one of the things of, for instance, like you have a Marine and Army. They kind of don't really trust each other, but they probably do. But what I mean is that, like, how to better put it instead? It'd be like if you were on the battlefield and you had Marines on one side, and you had all of a sudden start fighting with, like, the British Royal Navy. Like, you're not going to exactly trust them per se, but you're going to have like a mutual thing where you're going to understand, hey, we got to get this done, so let's just work together on this. What do you say? Okay, yeah, we'll do it. Just, stuff like that. So, I could be on hours for this. So, I'm going to kind of shrink it up on that part of it for that. So, on the next video, I'll do a much longer thing on it. I'm not going to go too deep into the government of it at first. I'll probably do a separate video for it, talking about the different chapters, what they do, and all this other stuff. So, sorry. That aside, here we're going to get to the part of where I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to rant. Okay. It's more of a rant video, because there's some things I read in Warhammer, I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And other things I'm like, you're dumb. Just dumb. God, it aggravates me. So, number one. First things first, we're going to talk about technology. Long ago in the Warhammer universe, there was the incident called the Man of Iron. It is where we are at our peak civilization. Peak. We are at the point where we have advanced AI. We have all these machines. We're building stuff. We are at the pinnacle of where we could be as an empire. We were developing things like the Titans, and we were doing faster than light travel. We didn't have to travel through the warp. We were all connected together through a technological network. We were at our peak. Our peak. And the Man of Iron squandered it. Pretty much what happened is Terminator 2.0, just a lot worse. AI took over, fought against mankind. They wanted to become the masters. We are the masters of mankind. And they wanted to take over. We fought, and they almost got rid of us, but the Emperor pretty much had to step in and help out. Now, that's not confirmed. I want to say that. That is not officially confirmed that he did step in and help. But it's kind of one thing that makes sense. The fact that pretty much they wiped out almost most other human worlds, and the only worlds that were left were like the inner worlds and Terra. Which, if you don't know, Terra is technically Earth. It's just they call it Terra. So, pretty much what happened is that they went to go do Terra, but something stopped them. It's not officially confirmed what stopped them, but humans ended up finally winning and taking the AI back and destroying it. After that, they started rebuilding, and that's when the 30th millennium showed up, and that's when the Emperor took power. He took over, and after the humanity had united against the AI and warped fronts. So, I said I'll go more in detail about all this next video. I'm going to have some sheets and stuff printed out with everything in order and date and stuff like that as well. And I'm going to read The Fall of Cadia as well as a book. So that way I have more information from it as well. So we have a world where technology's already backfired once because we let it get too far. Which in my opinion, even back then, true AI, no matter what you do with it, don't let it control prime systems. Like, that's the thing. Like, they let it control too much. They got lazy. They got lazy. And which I understand, we're heading that way ourselves. So, I mean, we can't say too much. I feel like in the next 5-10 years, we're going to be like Skynet. Their AIs are going to realize that we're the problem because we're the problem. And just going to be like, okay, I'm going to kill y'all. I'm going to kill you all, pretty much. Or they're just going to shut down the grid and let everything be. Let themselves die out, stuff like that. So, we So, pretty much, that is the AI scene of it. And is that because of that, they look down on technology. And even though the Emperor himself, even whenever he took power, he said technological advancement is the key to humanity growing. He didn't want them to stop using technology. That's the thing. He wanted them to keep on using it. But they wouldn't because they were fearful of it. Correction. They were using it at first, but most of it had been lost during the war because they destroyed most of it. So it's not that they didn't want to, that they just didn't have it much anymore. Now here's where I say that the Emperor was helping during all that, because after the war ended, he had all this advanced technology left that he was using to do things like create the custodians, creating the Thunder Warriors, and things like that. And which those are also divisions of the, of the chapters of Space Marines and stuff, and other things he was doing. But those are essentially what he was using. He was using technology, and a lot of it's speculation that he, during the final years of the war, had came together and managed to smuggle some of this technology off-world, because he had apparently during this whole time had mastered genetic engineering. He had mastered technological advancements we don't even know about yet either. So the point of it is that he knew it was going to happen, but he couldn't outright intervene in it at that point. Which is fine. He intervened more later. So now let's go to the rant part where technological things. So the Horus Heresy happened. It's where some of his own children, his Space Marines he created, turned against him and attacked him. And that's a whole nother, that could be a whole video itself, because that story is wild. But pretty much one of his children manipulated another one into attacking someone, and they ended up going to Terra, fighting the Emperor, and ended up wounding him. Now he's placed on the Golden Throne, which is pretty much just a coffin, because he's pretty much dead. And he's already dead. They don't know that. They're just keeping his body alive. Even though they don't know it, but if they just let him die, he'll just come back. Because he can't be... Right, because his I don't remember how it does. It says his body does not age but he can be killed. But his soul is immortal. So even if his body dies, he will come back and resurrect. And a lot of people speculate that with the new millennium, when it comes out, when they release it, he's going to come back. And finally, because they're going to run out of psychers, pretty much, to keep the throne active. Because apparently, from what I've heard, it takes thousands of psychers a day to keep that thing functioning and keep it the way it's supposed to be. So a lot of people speculate that in the next millennium, whenever they come back, they've run out of psychers and the Golden Throne just dies, and the body finally goes dead. And so the Emperor's like, finally, I can escape from the warp. Because a lot of people speculate he's in the warp. Just walking around, taking in things and all that, because his body's still alive, so he can't go back yet. So, at least is what I've read. I can't confirm. But, so, yes. Horus Heresy happened, he got put on the throne. After this is whenever we get into the 41st millennium. It's where we're at now, in continuity. And people have turned against technology. They hate technology. Technology's evil. It's blasphemous. It's just downright evil. And it's weird that they say that even though he believed in it, but, you can't blame people for hating something that nearly killed him. The Emperor was different, of course, but, hey, yeah, how it is. So here's where the rant part's going to be. Okay. Number one, do you want to know how their archive system is? They use paper. Paper. Okay, that is the dumbest thing in the world. Dude, you have this technology, and yet you won't even use it for computers and stuff. We have that now. We do that now. Now, mind you, I know why they're fearful of it. I know why they are scared of it. Number one, paper can't be corrupted, which that's a lie. That's a lie. And one of the videos recently of Wes Hammer did, a grim dark story, confirms that that's a lie. But we'll get into that in a minute. So the reason why they started using paper was because after the Horus Heresy, they started not trusting technology at all. And because of that, they went and decided to... God, I'll be alright. I'm talking too much. I ain't breathing enough. So... there we go. Okay. So... they got rid of technology because during the Man of Iron, they had all that system set up. A universal wide system where they could send and share information instantaneously. Kind of like what we have now across the world, just bigger. So, because of that, people were scared of it. They were terrified of it. They said, oh, well, we can't have that because the warp can hack it, because the warp can corrupt it, or any other things like, for instance, the Necrons can hack into it or something like that, you know. So there's fears for it, but at the same time, you could use like regular computers on smaller worlds. You know what I mean? Like, you got servos for a reason. Like, to me, it's dumb the fact that you write something down. You write something down, seal it up, put wax on it and all that stuff. Put it in these archive and vaults and worship it and bless it and seal it. When you could just put it in a computer, type it out. Oh, hey, look at what I got here. Yeah, this, and this. Cause like, so. Here's why the example. I'll tell you the example. Okay, so Wes Hammer just did a recent Grim Dark Story Hour on it, where the librarian was going into this archive to retrieve this item, quote unquote item, for the sorry, I need to breathe. For the Inquisition, which you know what an Inquisition is, but pretty much they're a brand of the Adeptus Astartes that go around and exterminate Xenos threats and all this other stuff and chaos and all that. So, pretty much, the librarian goes in and they know that the Inquisition is on their way. They're sending a Space Marine to go in there and get it because they've sent in like apparently a dozen or more people at this point to get it and nobody's come back for it. So they're like, okay, so we're sending in a Space Marine. And she don't want him to go through because the last one that did apparently caused like half the archive to burn because they set it on fire because they started finding quote-unquote religious heresy texts and all that, which, I mean, I can understand. So they show up. She's running down in there. And eventually the whole story goes, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but eventually she finds the text and the Space Marine shows up. And she don't want him, she's starting to be corrupted by it. And she don't want him to take it. So she ends up stabbing and killing the Space Marine by like stabbing it, then setting it on fire and a bunch of other stuff. It's intense. And then the person holding the book ends up opening a tear in reality to the chaos, to the warp. And she ends up going through. But essentially, that's the whole key there, is that you have these items and stuff locked up in vaults and stuff where you can't even watch them closely because you're so afraid of corruption that it leads to corruption. Like now in this world, now you have a rift that opens to the warp in the middle of this archive, in the middle of this place, which you're going to have to exterminate it. You're going to have to do a Exterminatus and just destroy the planet because now there's a rift in there and you can't fix that once it's there. And so, like, that's the thing that gets me, is that they do all these things to try to keep it from happening, and it happens anyway. At least with a computer, if you got a computer system, God, no, I'm not even tired, I'm just yawning. If you have a computer system, you can at least purge that part of the thing, or purge that part of the system, or set it up in sealed systems. You can have them going by intensity, side by side. But paper is just, it just frustrates me. I'm like, I understand why, but at the same time, it's just frustrating where I'm like, you have all this technology and you don't even use it. So that's part of the rant there. The other part is that exactly, you have all this technology and yet you don't even use it hardly. You let it sit there. And I understand there's fear for it. There's all this other stuff, They're scared that they're going to use it to attack, or the chaos can corrupt it and all this other stuff. So it sucks. It sucks, but that's how the developers have done it. I love the world. I love it. It's just there was like that paper thing that I was reading the other day. I'm like, that's why that happens. Is because you using paper. And it's just, because like, what happens if you do need an important document? It's buried, and it takes you days to find it when you need it within minutes. Like, sorry. But that's the frustrating part. Is that you have all this chance to use this technology, yet you won't use it, and it's fearful because of what's happened in the past, in which I can understand that. But you have to grow at some point. You have to grow. If you don't grow, you'll just stagnate and build up out. And that's where they're heading anyway, as the Imperium. Because all they're doing is fixing what's already there. They won't advance anything. They'll just do maintenance on it and stuff. Like, instead of a plasma cannon breaks, instead of actually trying to fix it, they'll just do a prayer for it, do a ritual, and hope it starts working. And not fix it in some new way. This is, I hate it. So, that's my mini rant for the day about Warhammer using paper. It's just a little video. I figured just to post something at least, because I said I was going to post something today or Thursday. As I said, the next video is going to be a lot longer. It's going to be probably well over an hour, maybe two. And it's going to be about the fall of Cadia on Warhammer. The video after that is going to be based in Cyberpunk. I'm going to discuss the government and how it fell, and then the second one I'm going to do is the Corpo Wars. So the Cyberpunk was actually recommended to me by my buddy, and he said, I was talking to him about it. I said, yeah, I got to make a video on something today and all that, and I told him I was going to make it on Warhammer, going to be a rant mainly. He said, have you thought about doing Cyberpunk? And I said, well, what about Cyberpunk? He said, why don't you talk about the government on there, how it failed? He said, because most people don't know that. They just know that the government failed, the corporations took over. That's it. They don't know why it failed or how it failed. Because even if you play the games, it don't really talk about it much. Like, there's a couple things you can read about it, but other than that, it doesn't go into much. Neither does the tabletop, if I remember correctly. I'm going to have to read both. But it'll be interesting. At least I got to read more into it. That'll be probably a couple weeks from now that I'll do those, because I got to study real hard for this Fall of Cadia one. I've got the stuff for it. I'm going to make another board like I did last time. This time I'm going to be doing it a bit differently. I've got more supplies this time to make it look better than what I did with the Halo video. So guys, if you like the video, feel free to comment, like, subscribe. You know how to do it. As I said, thanks for watching the videos. Honestly, it's a bit strange having already 25 subscribers within just 2 weeks of starting it, but I definitely appreciate it. I just started the video thing because I had all these things I wanted to talk to somebody about, but I didn't have any friends who were as close into it as I was. So it was kind of I enjoyed talking about it, but nobody listened to. So I figured instead of talking to myself, I could talk to a video and tell somebody like you. So that said, if you like it, feel free to keep on watching. If you have any more ideas, feel free to comment below. I'll make sure to read any of them that pop up. I haven't got any comments yet, but if there are, I'll make sure to read them. You have a good day. Enjoy yourself.